Matthew chapter 3, verse 17 paints a vivid and powerful scene. Jesus emerges from the baptismal waters, the Jordan River glistening around him, and a voice booms from heaven saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Imagine the awe and wonder among the onlookers, their eyes wide with amazement. God's voice, unmistakable and powerful, affirms Jesus' divine identity and mission. This moment not only marked the beginning of Jesus' ministry, but also served as a divine declaration that left no room for doubt. God himself spoke, announcing Jesus as his Son, a moment of profound significance. This event became a cornerstone of Christian belief, highlighting the special and unique relationship between God and Jesus, a key event in the foundation of Christianity. John chapter 5 verse 37 presents a seemingly contrasting perspective. Jesus, speaking to the Jews, states, "You have never heard his voice nor seen his form." This statement might initially seem to contradict the earlier account of God's audible affirmation at Jesus' baptism. How could Jesus claim they never heard God's voice when there are Old Testament accounts of God speaking and visible manifestations of his presence? The answer lies in understanding the context and deeper meaning behind Jesus' words. Jesus was addressing the spiritual blindness and deafness of the people, emphasizing their lack of true understanding and relationship with God. By delving deeper into the scriptures, we can reconcile these seemingly contradictory statements and gain a clearer understanding of Jesus' message. John chapter 5 verse 37 doesn't deny specific instances of God's voice in the Old Testament. Instead, Jesus speaks to a broader truth. While God revealed himself in the past, these encounters were limited and often veiled. The Jews hadn't truly experienced the fullness of God's presence. Jesus distinguished between fleeting glimpses of God and the complete revelation he embodied. They experienced the echoes of God's voice, but in Jesus they would encounter the Word made flesh. This marked a profound shift in understanding and experiencing God's presence. Section 4. God speaks through his Son. The Old Testament reveals God as majestic and powerful, a divine being who commands the universe with authority. He spoke through prophets and manifested his presence through dramatic signs and wonders. The burning bush, the pillar of fire, and the voice from Sinai. These events showcased God's power, but also highlighted the distance between humanity and a holy God. Jesus changed that. As God incarnate, he bridged the gap that had long existed. He came into the world not just as a messenger, but as the message itself. He didn't just deliver God's words, he embodied them. He was God's word, living and breathing among them, showing them the way to the Father. Section 5. A new way to hear God. The Jews yearned for a tangible, undeniable encounter with God, similar to the experiences of their ancestors. Jesus offered something even greater, an intimate relationship with God through faith in him. By saying they had never truly heard God's voice or seen his form, Jesus challenged them to move beyond the external and embrace the spiritual reality he embodied. This new way of hearing God was not through physical manifestations, but through a personal spiritual connection that transcended the old ways. Embracing this new relationship required faith and a willingness to listen with the heart. Section 6. The revelation of the Father. The seeming contradiction between Matthew 3:17 and John 5:37 dissolves when we understand Jesus' role as the perfect revelation of God. These passages illuminate the profound truth of Jesus' divine mission. At Jesus' baptism, God's voice confirmed Jesus as his beloved Son, marking the beginning of his public ministry. In John, Jesus highlights that knowing him is knowing God. His words and actions reflect the Father's will. He invites us to encounter God through a deep, personal relationship, transforming our understanding and bringing us closer to divine truth.